What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Locked In Sports Podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me today for our 2025 Cincinnati Reds, your former hometown team, is Luis Barranco. Luis, how's it going?
There's lots of optimism for Red Legs fans. Mr. and Mrs. Red should be happy with this roster that they've constructed. I think this team is a team that Cincinnati fans are proud of. They've been deprived of a lot of hardships in the past. They haven't won a playoff series in years. And I think Cincinnati sports, I think, there's cities like Minnesota, Minneapolis, Seattle, Cleveland, that all complain about hardships when it comes to sports. But when it comes to a city that doesn't get talked enough, it is Cincinnati. The Reds. The Reds haven't won in years. You remember their glory, their golden age with the Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, Aroldis Chapman, Todd Frazier. That was supposed to be the glory, but they lost to the Giants in 2013, if I remember correctly.
2012.
2012, correct. You also have the Bearcats, the Cincinnati Bearcats. Again, another storied basketball program that hasn't been able to get back to the heights when Mick Cronin was there. And even with Mick Cronin, hasn't been able to get to the big one. Then you have Xavier Musketeers. Lots and lots of hardship. I remember Kamar Baldwin in 2021, hitting that jumper and pretty much ending our season right then and there at Cintas. Getting bounced out by Florida State in the second round, but getting belted by Gonzaga. Just a lot of hardship for the cities. And don't forget the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are another storied NFL franchise that has gone through it. But I mean, out of all of them, the oldest and most historic team is the Reds, with players like Eric Davis, Rob Dibble. Don't forget Ken Griffey Jr. and Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, the Big Red Machine, Cincinnati Reds. It's time.
Frank Robinson, Joe Morgan.
Oh, Joe Morgan, exactly.
Barry Larkin.
Just a team, Barry Larkin, just a team with a lot of history involved. Bronson Arroyo. Do not forget about Bronson Arroyo. Just a team with a lot of history. I mean, hey, if I recall, Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young in 2020, correct? With the Reds?
Might have been a COVID one, yeah.
The COVID one. Again, they went to the playoffs then and there, and they lost. But I think there's brighter days ahead. I think we're entering into a new wave of Reds baseball that I think fans should get excited for. And William, I'll let you take away with the lineup and your opinions on this ball club this year.
Yeah, before I get to the lineup, just going off your point, they have 5 World Series all time in a 144. This will be their 144th season, so not the best ratio, but they do have 5. Obviously, the prime years when they went back-to-back in 75, 76, those teams were great. The big red machine. They won again in 90 when they swept the A's. And since 1990, since that World Series, they've been to the playoffs exactly 5 times and have not advanced past the National League division, or once in the NLCS, but they didn't win a game. And in this century, they have not advanced past the National League Division Series. They haven't been to the playoffs in 2020, since 2020, which, COVID year was weird. They were 2 games above 500 that year. And then before that, like you said, it was 2012 and then 2013. So, yeah, it's been grim in Cincinnati. I don't think there's any denying it. But there is finally some sense of optimism. There was optimism heading into last season. Ultimately, their season was, I would say, derailed by injury to the starting rotation, really to the lineup. The lineup took a beating last season in terms of injury. But I'm going to run through it, and then I'm going to get your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Even before the year, the lineup took injuries. But, hey, it seems like they finally have some health back on that roster,
Yes. So center field, you got TJ Friedel. Second base, Matt McClain, who was injured in spring training last year, missed the whole season. Shortstop, arguably a top 5 player in the whole sport, Elly De La Cruz. Catcher, they have listed Tyler Stevenson, which we know our thoughts on him. Right field, Jake Fraley. DH, Spencer Steer. First base, Heimer Candelario. Third base, Gavin Lux. Left field, Austin Hayes. And then they have Jose Trevino listed as the backup catcher right now, with Christian Encarnacion Strand, a backup first baseman, Santiago Espinal, and Stuart Fairchild rounding out the bench. Starting rotation is led by Hunter Green, who said himself he wants to win the Cy Young this year and wants to be an all-star. He's setting very lofty goals for himself this season. Also said he wants to pitch 180 innings, have a sub-3 ERA, and 200-plus strikeouts. So those are some lofty goals for Mr. Green. Behind him, they brought in Brady Singer via trade in November. They also have Andrew Abbott, Nick Martinez, and Nick Lodolo. And then their bullpen, which I think is pretty strong, led by their closer, Alexis Diaz. They also have Taylor Rogers, Emilio Pagan, Sam Mole, guy I really like that came over from the A's via trade in 2023, Brett Sutter, Scott Barlow, and then Graham Ashcraft, who right now they have listed as like a long reliever, but he could also be a sixth starter if they want. Injuries, you got Brandon Williamson, who's got Tommy John, probably going to miss the season. Yeah, he will. And then Julian Aguilar as well. All right, Luis, take it away. What are your thoughts on this roster this year?
So pretty much, I think the biggest problem with the Reds in the past 2 years I want to call myself a Reds fan, but I watch a lot of Reds ball because I have a lot of friends that still live in the area and go to games. I think the biggest thing is they kind of went when they were going through that rebuild with the Luis Castillo was they were just going to acquire athletic middle infielders. And then whoever makes it, they'll figure it out and they'll find their position. And I kind of feel like that's what they're doing right now. And I think Terry Francona, he's the new manager, is kind of going to put everybody in the right role. For example, Matt McClain played shortstop. Now they have him listed at second base. Elly De La Cruz is right now the shortstop, but he had 30 errors at shortstop last year. Is he a shortstop? Is he a third baseman? Heimer Candelario was signed to be the third baseman last year. Now he's listed as the first baseman, which he's dabbled with before. Gavin Lux, another middle infielder, now playing third base. It's just very interesting to see this roster construction, how it's going to work out, and who plays where. I have my opinions on Tyler Stevenson. I don't think he's a catcher. I think he's important to have in the lineup as a bat, but I just don't think he is the long-term catcher. That's why I think Jose Trevino is a great acquisition. They may suffer defensively because of the fact, but I do feel that Jose Trevino is a great presence in comparison to the Kirk Casales and Luke Maileys who were running out behind the dish last year. Tyler Stevenson is like the Giancarlo Stanton of this team. He's bound to get injured at some point and be out on the IL at some point of the season. Very interested to see what happens into the rotation. I mean, they did trade Jonathan India, which was very interesting. And when it comes down to it, it just came down to a timeline thing. And with the youth coming up, he was traded for Brady Singer. And it'll be interesting who makes it as a starter. They are saying that Andrew Abbott right now is behind schedule, and Rhett Lauder is also behind schedule. So they're looking for help in the rotation.
Due to injuries that they had last year, yeah.
So maybe it's a Graham Ashcraft, Wade Miley thing going around to start the year. But other than that, I mean, I do feel like this team has potential to win the division. And that's just not me being biased. It's just all dependent that, they play good, sound baseball and they can score runs. So.
Yeah, and you go ahead, finish.
No, sorry. I'm done. Yeah, no, I'm done.
You kind of glossed over what I think is arguably the most important new acquisition for this team this year. And I normally don't think managers play that big of a role, but bringing in Terry Francona, who is one of the better managers in the history of the sport, obviously won the World Series, broke the curse with the Red Sox, and then had a pretty good stint with the Guardians with a really young team there. He's back, and I think he's going to make a real difference, especially for this young team in Cincinnati. Like you said, I think he's going to be able to put the right guys in the right place and kind of figure out lineup construction. Dude loves baseball, and he came out of, I think it was a health-related retirement with the Guardians. He came out of that retirement to manage the Reds. So I think that speaks to what he thinks about this roster and where it can go, to be honest. Rhett Lauder, the left elbow discomfort that he started experiencing in January is concerning. But they have a lot of young talent in the rotation already. I mentioned Hunter Green, obviously, Lodolo. You also have what I think is a really good farm system in Cincinnati with Chase Burns, who they drafted last year out of Wake Forest and formerly of Tennessee, Edwin Arroyo, another. I mean, they just have so many infielders in that that are young or in the farm system. I don't know what they're going to do with all of them. Cam Collier, who was okay in the minor leagues last year, and then Sal Stewart, a guy that's been turning heads in camp. So there's a lot of talent. I expect Francona to put like guys in the right place. I don't know. I'm really optimistic about this team.
I just have my defensive concerns. I mean, like Elly De La Cruz is probably one of the best players in the game if he's on. But again, he does strike out a lot. He has that as a Yankee fan, you did see the Aaron Judge swinging that breaking stuff down below in the zone. He swings about it. And the other thing is Elly also hits switch. So that's also keep in mind that,
sorry.
No, go. Yeah, no, go ahead.
On Elly, like he has the talent to be one of the best players in the league. And I said earlier, he could be top 5. Right now, he's not top 5. But he's an MVP candidate, and in the National League, it's essentially a race for second place in the MVP voting because it's probably going to be Shohei again. I think Elly second place. Who's third or who's second?
Probably Mookie Betts.
I think it's a battle for second. Elly is in that conversation. He could be there. He's got to cut down on the strikeouts. I mean, 31% strikeout rate last year was abhorrent. His whiff rate is terrible. He walks at a good clip. Hits the ball hard, but he only had an 810 OPS last year and hit 259 for a batting average and only 25 home runs. But the 67 stolen bases is like, wow, okay. I mean, the raw talent is there, and he's only like 23? Yeah, he's 23. So
he's killing spring training right now. He was hitting 625 in spring training right now.
Exactly.
I don't know how much you got to believe in that, but like I said, this team has a lot of potential to go places. I just have my defensive concerns. As I said, like there's a lot of guys that really aren't playing their natural positions, and it'll just be interested to see. Again, can Terry Francona be healthy for a full 162? That's also something to keep in mind. I know we talk about players, but hey, this is an older manager who already had issues in the past on staying healthy out there in the field.
Yeah, and he's aging, so I think that is something to monitor for sure. You also have Novelli Marte, who got popped for PEDs, in 2023.
I just think last season's just everything, just a combination of the Matt McClain injury before camp, having the shoulder surgery and not being able to come back. Novelli Marte getting popped for PEDs at the start of the year, spring training. You also have the Christian Encarnacion Strand also getting hurt within the first 2 months of the season. That's also another big part. You add all of that to what was already going on. It was just a recipe for disaster. And I mean, the Reds' biggest problems in the past was you had Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. Problem is Lodolo can't stay healthy. And who else? But now it looks like they've developed Andrew Abbott. They got help on the way with Rhett Lauder and Chase Burns, who should be up this season. And the pen, which used to be Luke Weaver used to be the piñata of Major League Baseball before Matt Blake got his hands on him in the Yankees. And they actually have like decent MLB relievers now.
And I really like the trade for Brady Singer as rotation depth. And then Nick Martinez was, I think, the only guy to take the qualifying offer. So he's back, which is, I think, good for them. Hopefully it's a new manager, so I don't expect Alexis Diaz to get burned out maybe the way he did under Bell.
Oh my God, David Bell! It was like clockwork. It would be Ian Jabot to Lucas Sims, and they had defined roles, but it didn't matter. Alexis Diaz was Bell just had to put out Alexis Diaz because he trusted nobody in the ninth. It was just like him, and it actually got to them at some point because he was blowing saves left and right at some point in the season. And it's just
Yep. So. Do you think the best move for them would be to move Stevenson to DH and start Trevino at catcher for the defense?
Defense in parentheses.
Defense in parentheses. He's better than Stevenson defensively, but he's not, the arm isn't there, but the blocking is there and the framing is there, which is important.
The blocking, the framing, the actually calling of a game is there. I think either Stevenson plays DH or plays first. I just kind of think like as this team like develops, I think Heimer will be gone. He only has 2 years left on his contract, and I think Nick Martinez probably ends up in the bullpen by the end of the season. If everything goes right, he's a bullpen. He's a swing starter because you probably think Rhett Lauder or Chase Burns comes and takes his spot by the second half of the season.
You would think he's owed a lot of money, 21.05 million. It's a lot for a
But it's only
reliever.
1 year. It's only 1 year.
It's only 1 year. You're right.
So I mean, that's just like what I think. I mean, I would love to get them an outfielder, but hey,
On the salary piece of this team, their payroll is low, but it's up from last year. 115 million this year. It was 100 last year. I forgot that Hunter Green signed a 6-year, $53 million deal.
they had Frankie Montas last year. You remember? He was like, and they try to do like, because right now they're trying to do Enron deals in the sense that they're trying to lock down Elly now. And
Are they?
Yeah, they're trying to lock down like their young core, but it's just like when you look at rotation wise, you thought Nick Lodolo would either be your 1 or your 2, but he can't stay healthy. And so now,
so do you lock them up while their value is low?
I think but I think your biggest problems is your like where your season can go left is, let's say Elly doesn't cut down on strikeouts, and McClain I think is probably your safest bet on this team. But like everybody else, let's say like Encarnacion Strand is a strikeout demon still, who he struck out 28% of the time, only walking 3% of the time. Say that he doesn't get better, Novelli Marte doesn't pan out, then what are you stuck with?
Well, yeah, that's always the concern with the young talent. You don't have, Elly is established himself as a good player, but he hasn't established himself as a star. That's always the risk you run.
Do you think
it's not necessarily a risk, but that's just kind of the way it goes with young talent.
Do you think he's a shortstop? Like you've played.
Well, where else are you going to put a dude like that?
Third base.
I think the speed and the range he shows, he's also just so big that it's hard to bend over as an infielder. But I'd give him another year at short. If it doesn't work out this year, yeah, I'd look to move him to third. But they, if Marte works out there, then what are you doing?
Upfield, Dominican Judge.
He is. I mean, he's could take the same career path as him. Now, Judge went to college, came into the league way later, but same build. He's a lot skinnier, though, to be fair.
I mean, put him at center and just let him run things down.
It'd be fun.
Just don't jazz him. Like don't like start pushing him. Like that's my concern with a lot of players on this team. Is like I feel like what's really hurt Jazz's development, because Jazz went from like this probably elite second baseman to like a spicy Ben Zobrist right now. No offense to him, because I'm a big believer in him. But like you put him at second and then you put him at center, and now he's at third, and now he's going back to second. Well, that's kind of the thing. What's going on with Spencer Steer? Spencer Steer has played third, has played first, has played left. Elly's played shortstop, third. Gavin Lux. What is Gavin Lux? He's played predominantly second base for the Dodgers. Now he's playing third. So what are we? Novelli Marte, shortstop, now a third baseman. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
I think could be a good problem to have, though. Versatile.
Yeah, but you want to be elite defensively. Come on. Garrett Cole should have covered first faster. You know that. It's the defense.
At what point do you pay Elly, and do you think the Reds are actually going to pay that contract? Because I don't think the ownership.
Oh, no, I don't think ownership will. I think he's going to be demanding. I think he's a Boris guy too. So,
is he?
Yeah, I think he is a Boris guy. So I think if he's a Boris guy, he's not signing no Enron deal. Like.
Oh yeah, he's a Boris guy. All right,
yep.
He's forget close. It. He's not re-signing in Cincinnati. That's not happening.
Future Met, the Dominican Mets.
He's a free agent in 2030.
And Juan Soto will be what? 250.
I think Juan Soto is going to be making $100 million that year. Actually, Juan Soto, yeah, he's under contract in 2030. Juan Soto's contract doesn't expire until 2039. So,
God, crap.
well, I think that,
I think all of us will be married, except probably me, by 2039 at that point, and he'll still be playing ball for the Mets.
Yeah, he's owed. That contract is just insane.
But anyways, let's just talk more.
Let's talk more. It is a podcast. That is what we do here.
Last year they won 77 and 85. What do you think the ceiling of this team is, in your opinion? Non-biased.
Wild card berth. And okay. If everything goes absolutely right, they could win the division, because I don't think it's that strong of a division.
I think they have the best rotation in the division, like on paper.
I think it's better than the Cubs. It's better than the Brewers. Whatever you say about their pitching lab, it's better than the Cardinals. It's definitely better than. It might not be better than the Pirates.
Why? So
if Green can accumulate Cy Young votes, I would take the Reds. But if Green is just so and Skeens is Cy Young caliber, I'd take off him. I would take Skeens. They also have Jared Jones, right? Like,
I think if you look at that division, I think the Reds have the best division, the best quantity of arms.
Yes.
I think like 1 through 5, 1 through 6, 7, they do. Pirates, obviously, they have the gem of the division. They have Skeens and probably Bubba Chandler and Jared Jones. And then not to get too much into detail, but I think the Cubs rotation is sneaky. But I think there's more bust potential. I mean, between those two, between the Reds and the Cubs, I feel like they're both like teeter-tottering, where I think they both have equal bust potential. I think the high end on both is higher with the Reds. If everything goes right, the Reds is way better than the Cubs, assuming both of them go even.
I agree.
I
think they're going to be good, man.
They're going to be good. If they bottom out, I mean, you sell the arms and you hopefully get some bats. I mean, I would love to get them a bat out in the outfield. Get them a right field or center fielder. I mean, I love TJ Friedel and Jake Fraley. They're just dudes with like good flow. Should be playing hockey. I mean,
Will Benson's
not there.
Where is he?
I think he's in the minors.
Yeah, but he's still in the organization.
Yeah, but right now it's TJ Friedel and Jake Fraley. I feel like maybe you get an outfielder like Luis Robert, put him at center.
I was literally just gonna say that. That was the next thing I had planned to say. Go trade for Robert. Why not? They have the assets to get him.
But White Sox have absurd prices on their players. But regardless, DraftKings, not sponsored. Over-under is 78.5. What are you feeling on this team?
They won 77 last year, and everything went wrong. And they just brought in a Hall of Fame manager, and I thought got better in the offseason. So I'm a pretty easy over. No hesitation.
I'm an easy over as well. I like what I saw at Hunter Green. I like his pitch mix. I like I like how the big thing Reds pitching lab does is just develop sweepers. Andrew Abbott has a nice little sweeper. Hunter Green lives on that fastball changeup mix. I think he has a sweeper. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe he does. But I mean, if you can just continue to hone in, like he's growing up between our eyes. So give me the over.
I agree. We're in line.
Chase Burns, Rookie of the Year. Rhett Lauder, one of those NL Rookie of the Year. How are we feeling about that? You sprinkling money?
I don't want to step on my picks, but I think if they can get the innings, sure. I'm a little worried about Lauder's injury right now. And is Burns going to be there this year? So, but they're in the running. I think their odds are near the top. Yeah.
So we're both over.
Both over.
All right, let's call the over.
All right. Anything else on the Reds before we get out?
There'll be a .TV team for sure, and I think the Central will be a .TV division, the official .TV division. I think we always say the Central is the .TV division. I just enjoy Pirates, Reds, Cubs, Brewers series. I don't know why. I get excited deep down inside.
I like watching the Reds. I love watching them in 2023. Last year, not as much, but yeah, hopefully they're entertaining again this year. I think they will be. Um, Thank you for listening to this Reds preview. We'll be back tomorrow with another National League Central team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got a pretty good pitcher over there themselves. Um, any final words on the Reds?
None at all.
All right, going to be an interesting season for them. We're both on the over, pretty confident in that pick. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Until then, or until the next episode, we'll catch you next time. Peace out.